everyone, I am Mecha42, your favorite YouTube harpy, and it's not over yet. We still have more to talk about with Star Trek Discovery. There have been a few articles that have kind of fallen through the cracks with this. There's been just so much. I mean, Star Trek Discovery is coming out next week, so of course there's going to be so much information, just a huge info dump just smeared across our screen, just like the opening credits of Star Trek Discovery, where the ship just streaks its brown nacelles across the screen like a cat wiping its ass on the carpet, scooting along the floor. Dogs do that too. Dogs are probably the better metaphor there. Anyway, let's get right into this article. There's so many articles that are coming out, it's just impossible to keep up with. So this one is from, who did this? TrekMovie.com. This is a long one too, by the way. Star Trek on TV leader Alex Kurtzman's media blitz is not over, with a couple more interviews out today. While they cover a lot of familiar ground, he also had some new things to say about the second season of Star Trek Discovery premiering next week, January 17th. Don't watch it. I'll watch it so you don't have to. Still serialized. There's been a lot of talk of changes coming in the second season, including some more traditional Star Trek exploration. Oh, like space exploration, you know, like Star Trek? You're actually Star Trekking across the universe, like you know, a show about space and exploration. Yeah, we can't have that in our Star Trek. Star Trek exploration and storytelling. But in his interview with Entertainment Weekly, oh, I've heard about this interview. We did talk a little bit about this on Midnight's Edge. Showrunner Alex Kurtzman made clear that the highly serialized nature of the series will remain, even if you might not always notice it at first. No, because we're too busy having, you know, the lens flares shine in our faces and having the audio cues when we know when to look up from our phones from texting. So of course we're not going to notice it at first. It's very serialized. There are no real one-offs. Every piece of the puzzle is connected to the finale. We worked backward from knowing the outcome we wanted to get. There are episodes that seem standalone. They're fundamentally part of where we're going at the end. How Spock became Spock. Now here we go. Here's the meat of this article. Here's where we learn how Spock will be destroyed by Michael Burnham. In previous interviews, Kurtzman had discussed how the second season will explore the relationship between Michael Burnham and her foster brother Spock. Actually, no, she's the foster. She's the one being fostered. Can we get some of this stuff straight real quick? Spock is the child of Sarek and Amanda. Amanda's a human, Sarek's a Vulcan. Spock is a half-breed, half human, half Vulcan. Michael Burnham is a human of human parents who was, her parents were killed. Sarek decided to pluck her, you know, we'll do the pluck her with the top of her head out of the vending machine of orphan children that got killed in this Klingon attack. And he mind melded with her to save her life in, I think, yet another attack. This show is so unclear with the flashbacks. One flashback, she was, the Klingons killed her parents at home, where she was hiding in a closet or something, she said. And then in the actual flashback you see, the Klingons attacked while she was at school in the little Vulcan Learning Center thing for children. So, and her parents were stationed, like, on a Vulcan colony. She is the foster to Spock's family. She's the adopted one. She's the ward. Some, like, even Alex Kurtzman himself has said, half brother, half sister. She's not the half anything. Neither of her parents are related to the family. Let's get that straight, okay? So anybody who's writing these articles, learn your kind of basic familial relations. Please, it gets really frustrating. On Variety's TV Take podcast, the producer went into more detail on how the season will work as sort of an origin story for Spock. I'm a huge sucker for a sibling story. It's one of my favorite kinds of stories, and it's so rarely told, and it's such a unique and specific relationship. And, oh, here we go with the ands. Alex Kurtzman, quit starting every sentence with the word and. And. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you notice it, you can't not notice it. Every sentence he fills with at least 3 ands, and it's really distracting. So the idea that Spock and Burnham are playing out this dynamic of logic versus emotion and knew each other before Spock became the character we met in TOS is exciting to me. It's 10 years. People don't change that much in a decade. Seriously, I have socks that are older than a decade. I mean, people don't change that much. Really. What got me so riled up is that the idea, if we can take season 2 of Discovery and understand how his relationship with Michael informed how he became Spock, the Spock we meet in TOS, and that without that relationship, we would never be prepared for Kirk. That is a new and interesting spin and something really worth talking about because people haven't seen that before. He's not that different. First off, if he's that freaking irrational and can't hone in his emotions between his human side and his logic side, and he's like that unstable, it would not let him in Starfleet. He has to kind of be somewhat the character that he is. Vulcans also live a shit ton longer than humans. They don't. Vulcans are very much arrogant, pompous, smug sort of people who they think they know everything. They're very arrogant. They're like, why would I change? I'm perfect the way I am. We've studied for, thousands of years to get to be this way where we're very logical and rational. Why would we change? Why would we be exploring who we are? That's just so ridiculous. That's so anti-Vulcan. By the time Spock and Kirk are together, which we see them being where you are airdropped into what became the first episode of TOS, Spock certainly works out logic versus emotion over the course of the series and movies, but he is more or less settled into his Vulcan character. And quit saying and that was an interesting opportunity. Maybe he wasn't always settled into the Vulcan character. He wouldn't have been in Starfleet yet, though. He would have been still at home trying to figure out what he was going to do. Remember, part of Spock's character arc, if you include Discovery as canon, is that Sarek pulled strings to get Michael Burnham into like the Science Academy, because basically he was kind of laughed out of the Vulcan like society because he had a half human son on the one hand who was kind of they look upon you as they're a little racist. Vulcans are a little racist, so they kind of look down on Sarek for having a half human child anyway, and then he's trying to have this full human adopted whatever trying to go into the Vulcan Academy, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he chose Spock to go to the Science Academy over Michael Burnham, if you count Discovery as canon. And Spock said, no, I'm going to Starfleet. Screw you. I'm going over here. So there was like this whole story arc with Michael Burnham and Sarek about how he chose Spock over her, because of course he would. That's his actual child. Oh, fuck. This is ridiculous. No. Just no. This does not even match the canon in Discovery. Oh, maybe he had to go through that whole journey of logic versus emotion to figure out what was necessary. What was necessary ultimately was balance. And while Spock always represented logic of the Enterprise, Kirk was the emotion of the Enterprise. And without his working through that self-exploration and self-discovery work, pun intended, he would never have become that character. So that felt like a unique and interesting opportunity and a necessary one. No, you're going to completely take away any sort of character development he had in Star Trek, and you're going to have him redo it all. But you're shoehorning in this character that he needs to form who he is. This is going to destroy Spock in the eyes of many, many people, because you're lessening the character by making him so dependent on Michael fucking Burnham. You do not understand this. We don't like this character of Michael Burnham. She's unnecessary. She's smug, arrogant, unlikable. She is the worst character in Star Trek history. That has nothing to do with the color of the skin of the actress. It has everything to do with the writing of the character. Okay? You could have anybody play that part and it'd be a crap character. Only some actresses would probably be a little more competent. Oh, and there's more. There's more news in this article. Filling in the blanks for Pike and Number 1. Kurtzman also discussed how Season 2 will approach the characters of Captain Pike and Number 1. What was really exciting was the opportunity to explore a gray area about this relationship and these characters, Spock, Pike, and Number One. Number One is a great example. You know very little about Number One. She was in one episode and then kind of out, so she is kind of a blank slate. But also, always remembered by Trek fans. Why? Well, because she's Majel Barrett, and because she came back as Nurse Chapel, and because she was a first. She was the first female, first officer. That's why she's remembered, because of who she was, what she represented, and she was kind of, I hate using this word, she was kind of a token and a symbol of representation, in a good way, back when it actually mattered in the 60s when, anyway. And getting to look at that, and you're starting the sentence with "and" again. Pike was obviously a character who had a large mythological presence on the show, both because of the pilot that never aired and what came later in the menagerie. And then what we did with Bruce Greenwood, we got to open more doors, but that is obviously the Kelvin universe and a different version of Pike. So I love the idea of saying, who are these people? And we have 14... and we have 14 episodes to explore nuances and details and parts of their lives that either maybe have been eluded or left blank. That we can now fill in. Sometimes when you give us too much of backstory, you ruin the character. Sometimes you lessen them with horrible writing, bad contrived plots, and unnecessarily shoehorning them into franchises and prequels that we don't need the character muddied and soiled by. Look at something like Han Solo. I certainly didn't like it. A lot of people really didn't like it because it ruined Han Solo for a lot of people. This will ruin Spock for a lot of people, myself included. Oh, and there's more to this even. Don't expect Lorca yet. Oh no. So spoiler, Lorca's coming back apparently. But what about last season's captain? Kirk's been set up expectations for seeing Jason Isaacs return as Captain Lorca, telling Entertainment Weekly. EW for short. I will tell you that you should not expect to see him this season, but that doesn't mean he won't be back. But we also were promised we wouldn't see Spock. And I've covered that many times on the channel. We were promised we wouldn't see Spock or the Enterprise. We were also promised we won't see Kirk, and he's certainly mentioning Kirk. Just saying. The Canon Balancing Act. In his interview with you, the reporter opined that Kurtzman and his team should not worry so much about Canon and focus instead on just telling a good story. Kurtzman weighed in on the controversial topic, diplomatically saying, "We really do spend a lot of time talking about Canon, and there are people in the writer's room specifically to tell us where we're stepping on the line of violation. But we fucking ignore them and do our own thing anyway." But it's always a conversation. The best version of the story needs to be the driver. Yes, but what if the story is so asinine and ridiculous? And you're breaking canon just to piss people off with a stupid story? Maybe listen to those people in the room. But what's the best version of the story is an entirely subjective thing. Maybe listen to people like us, the actual Star Trek fans. Don't listen to your fart sniffing, butt kissing peons. Don't do that. That's why we have so many different voices in the writer's room, so many different points of view. You want to write a nuanced story to get as many different voices as possible to represent how they feel about different ideas. A big part of my process is listening to the other writers. With Trek, you want to go out and beta test ideas. No, don't beta test Trek. You want to, maybe beta test, maybe tweet out, hey, what would the fans think of this or something? But as soon as you do that, you'll get 50% of people telling you they love it and 50% of the people saying you should be strung up and killed. You're going to have 50% of the people telling you they love it because these are a lot of the blind fanboys. These are a lot of the no negativity people. They love everything. A lot of the time, they're your kind of shill sites or wannabe shill sites. These are some of the up-and-coming sites, like news sites, YouTube channels even. Sometimes I've seen those. Not anybody in our community, but we've certainly seen some of these channels where they say everything is wonderful on the chance that they'll get like a free screener or something. And yeah, no, those are the people telling you they like it. The other people who are telling you they don't like it are the people who are going out of their way to start YouTube channels and saying, no, this is not a good show. They're tweeting about it. They're hashtagging. They're forming communities. We're not telling you should be hung up and killed. Like, no. We just want you to make good Star Trek. Hire somebody who knows Star Trek. Be a little more and respectful of the fans. At a certain point, you need to follow your own internal compass, but you don't want to do it in a vacuum. That's very dangerous. So we hire people to express what they think Star Trek means and where we're violating canon and what we can invent within that gray area. No, you just ignore them. You're really... They're probably saying, yes, go into the future. So yes, we want to stay true to canon, but we're also doing a lot of new invention that has nothing to do with canon. No shit. You know, stuff like that has everything to do with plagiarized video games called tardigrades, right? That's some of the new stuff you're doing, right? There's a lot of conversation online like, why don't you start with new things? Why do you have to look back? And the answer to that is, we can do both. No, you're not. You're really not doing a very good job of doing both. You really have to not reinvent technology of an already established timeline, not mess with already established characters that people really like, not shoehorn in all these family members we don't care about, and yeah, move forward into the future with new Star Trek characters and new things. Had this been a new ship, it might have been okay, had it been set in the right timeline. But no, there's so many things that really revolve around this being in TOS time, this being, you know, a decade before TOS, this having characters related to TOS characters. That's what's really, really hurting this. And the horrible writing and the fact that you're focusing on special effects instead of the characters and the stories. We don't care about special effects. Star Trek is something you can listen to with the sound, with like the picture off for some of these episodes, and they're just talking. And it's so brilliant. Star Trek has always done both. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is more confirmation that he's really going to ruin Spock? Do we even care at this point? I mean, I'm going to be watching this begrudgingly next week. I'm prioritizing the Orville. Orville will get my Nielsen view or whatever they count from watching it on my DirecTV here at the house. And Star Trek Discovery, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. What do you guys think? Are we watching Star Trek Discovery? Are you excited? Do you think this is going to ruin Spock? Do you think this is like the final nail in his coffin? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I am Mecha42, and I will see you guys in the next video or live stream. Oh, and tomorrow, Saturday, the 12th, it's actually technically today, Saturday the 12th, 14,000 sub celebration. It's going to be in the evening sometime. I will post a link as soon as it is up, but keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video or live stream. Bye! Thanks for watching! If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more, don't forget